Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. And yes, today we are continuing our coverage of the crisis that is unfolding in Venezuela. Now, will it become battlefield Venezuela? Will there be an outright civil war? It's difficult to say. It really is. Now, there is some thought that the Venezuelan military will come in and save the day and overthrow Maduro. Well, look, I can tell you right now, that is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Now, could the military come in and overthrow Maduro? Yes, absolutely. But it is not going to be a change in the current government. It's not going to deviate from socialism. It'll probably become even more socialistic or communist as the roots of what is happening right now in Venezuela traces itself back, its origins, the left-wing control, the socialist control of Venezuela, its roots go back to the military. So you really have to go back to even before Hugo Chavez. You have to look at the early days of Hugo Chavez. And when he was in the military, when he was in the military academy, that's where he was first really subjected to these left-wing socialist, communist value sets. And then while he was in the military, during the mid-'80s, going into the early 90s, Hugo Chavez creates this group called the MBR 200 movement. And again, just socialist, progressive body politic. Okay? And it was widespread in the military. And then in 1992, Hugo Chavez, who is at the time a battalion commander with an airborne battalion, I believe he was assigned to the, if I recall, he was assigned to the 4th Infantry Division. And there was an element, a battalion of airborne qualified troops that he commanded. And he led a left-wing coup d'etat against the sitting Venezuelan government. And he was actually going to kill the current president, not the current president, but the existing, back then in the 1990s, president of Venezuela during this coup. The coup didn't work. There were some communications breakdown, and Hugo Chavez, again, essentially a communist, was thrown in prison for a couple of years. And that's really kind of where he got his namesake and his political branding and how he gained notoriety. Now, a few years later, Hugo Chavez is elected El Presidente. Okay? So he's running the show. There was another coup that occurred, I think around 2002, and against Hugo Chavez. And that was kind of the last bastion of possibly what you would call conservatives in the Venezuelan military. And it fell flat on its face. They took over for about 48 hours, and then Hugo Chavez was reinstalled. But from the very early 2000s to where we sit now in 2024, so that's 2 decades of military political indoctrination that has been going on in the military. So if Maduro were to be overthrown, in all likelihood, this guy by the name of Vladimir Lopez would probably take power. He's the current defense minister and he heads the military. And he's still a commanding general, 4-star general in the Venezuelan military. But the point being, the entire Venezuelan military, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the National Guard, which is a very important component, and then there's a couple of new forces that have been recently created. There's this Venezuelan National Militia, hardcore leftist organization that was created by Hugo Chavez. The essentially the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the military high command was compartmentalized into its own group. The name of it escapes me right now, but that was created almost like as an additional service. Again, hardcore leftists control that. That's where the Vladimir Lopez resides himself. And then Maduro created an additional organization because Maduro actually understands that the military controls the country. Again, this left-wing military. So even Maduro tried to create this national police force. It originally started with about 1,000 national police, and now it's well over past 20,000 personnel now. It's essentially a parallel paramilitary force that exists kind of in the same realm as the National Guard. But this was Maduro's child. It's Maduro's love child, this national police force. And that force is fairly loyal to him, as is the forces of the military. Again, they're all left-wing, socialists, communists. Much of Venezuela, probably 50%, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, are hardcore progressive socialists. Much of the country is. So the idea that there's going to be something happening within the government, the military, that would change the body politic of Venezuela, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a grassroots conflict. It will be people that are tired of communism, tired of socialism, just regular folks that would rise up. But that's going to be very difficult. A lot of these people have left the country, have left Venezuela. A lot of conservatives, people you would call conservatives, that don't buy into socialism or communism. A lot of those people have fled. But the people that are there now are seeing the damages that socialism does to the economy, to your way of life, and they're seeing it. They're experiencing it. So it would be this grassroots rebellion, essentially a generation that has grown up in this communist state that doesn't like it. And they can see, they have contact with the outside world. They can see that their standard of living is much lower than other parts of South America. They see it. So the question is, are they going to do anything about it? Probably not. Realistically, there's not going to be a change in Venezuela. There's still a large component of the population that supports socialism and communism. The government in entirety is communist and socialist. The military is communist and socialist. Again, the heads of the Army, Navy, the Marine Infantry Forces, the National Guard, Air Force, all of them are run by this National Socialist Party now. And again, the whole, if you look at the root cause of Bolivarianism, and it is what it is. It is what it's insidious. It has a hold of Venezuela. It has roots in other South American countries as well. And yeah, that's why you see South Americans heading into the former United States of America. And if you look at what happened with the, and this is very important, if you look at how the agencies, the military, the security forces in Venezuela became politicized towards the left-wing body politic. The same thing, the same exact method was used by Barack Hussein Obama. It just wasn't the, I talked about this before, Obama politicized the federal agencies. He politicized the career workforce. It started in colleges, the indoctrination process in colleges, and it's now inside and deeply entrenched in the federal workforce. They're trying to do it now to the U.S. military. They're trying to mandate that even regular soldiers have to go to these college courses and receive additional indoctrination in order to get promoted to higher levels of non-commissioned officer. So here in the United States, we are going to have to purge the school systems. We're going to have to clean it up. Or we, here in the United States, the un-United States, are going to suffer the same fate as Venezuela. It's on the way. It's coming. It's happening. The same model that was used in the mid-'80s, early 90s to transform the Venezuelan security forces is happening right now in the United States. If you look at the training processes that occurred within the Venezuelan army, the Venezuelan officer cadre was forced into these training academies, and they were then indoctrinated by actual civilian professors. They brought in civilian professors to indoctrinate, and that's how Hugo Chavez became this communist stooge. It was from the schools. This quote-unquote progressive indoctrination. And that's what happened. So again, the likelihood that there's going to be a change, there could be. Maduro could be overthrown, and in all probability, it'll be Vladimir Lopez. But Vladimir Lopez is cut from the same cloth. It's not going to be like the military has stepped in and is saving Venezuela from socialism and communism. That's not what's going to happen. They are at the root cause of what is happening right now. They control a lot of what were formerly private sector entities. They control oil companies, the Venezuelan military. They control port facilities. Private facilities at one point have been turned over and are run by the socialist, communist Venezuelan military. And they don't want to lose that power. So I just wanted to talk about that today, go into that a little bit. Hope you learned something. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. As always, thanks for joining us. Have a good day.